It seems impossible. It seems impossible. It's clear. The challenges of technology. I think we are back on. Yeah, yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, we're good. Thank you. Dear friends, it seems impossible that we are here again. This must be some kind of cruel joke that is being played upon our souls and our spirits. We have been on such a roller coaster of thoughts, expectations, and emotions that we imagine we will be lifted up once more with hope and possibility. She was so vibrant, so alive, so present, seemingly such a short time ago. And it seemed that if we could just resolve the next hurdle and the next and the next and the, we might avoid this nightmare result. In my mind's eye, I will always see her at Temple, full of energy, interest, and engagement, sitting with Milt on the center aisle. I will always remember her, beautiful, elegant, perfectly dressed and coiffed, with her brilliant smile that was just smiling out at us from the miracle of the photographs. Active, spirited, she was fun. I will always remember her with her beloved family, her children, including her children's spouses and grandchildren and great-grandchild, all of whom have demonstrated a devotion to and love for her that is a reflection of all she was to them. I have marveled especially at Marcy and Brent, with David and Aaliyah's unstinting support, at their courage to greet each day with its unbearable questions and intolerable decisions. We have all been simultaneously profoundly saddened and inspired by your towering strength, your sheer will that has somehow empowered you to care for her and watch over her and protect her as she endured these excruciating weeks of decline. She had the strength and the spirit to go forward. Even in the aftermath of Milton's death, we could envision an ongoing life for her, but not in a compromised way. That was not a possibility in her worldview. So we gather, guided and supported by the wisdom of our tradition, which just yesterday, in our ongoing study of the Torah, related the story of Abraham and Sarah's going forward on a journey, commanded by God, to an unknown land. And so has Elaine, now been released to journey as well, to an unknown and unknowable destination, but one where she is at peace, her care relinquished to God's hands. Lechi lach, to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. Lechi lach. And I shall make your name great. Lech lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechi lach, to a place that I will show you. L'simchat chayim, לשמחת חיים, לשמחת חיים, לכי לך. You shall be a blessing, you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing. לכי לך.
I invite you to join with me now in the recitation of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Eshet chayil miyimsa. What a precious find. What a precious find is our dear Elaine. She was a woman of valor. Her worth was far beyond rubies. Her husband, Milt, put his confidence in her, and he lacked no good thing. She was good to him all the days of her life. Elaine opened her hand to the needy, and she extended it to the poor. She was always clothed with strength and splendor, and she looked to the future cheerfully. She opened her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue was guided by kindness. She oversaw the activities of her household, never ate the bread of idleness. Her children, Marcy and David, they come forward today and bless her. Her husband of blessed memory, Milt, would say, many women have done superbly, Elaine, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. In the Torah portion it is to come, we find the biblical Abraham sitting in the sun at the entrance to his tent. It is moments later that he is visited by 3 messengers from God. They are to bring good news to Abraham and Sarah. Abraham is eager to care for them, to please them, to welcome them. He and Sarah go to great lengths to honor these holy messengers, tending to them with intention. In this way, Abraham behaves with zrizut, which in Hebrew means fervent haste, to do this mitzvah, to fulfill a sacred obligation. Today, we are here to also fulfill a sacred obligation. But we do so without great haste, without willingness. Yes, we'd rather have both Elaine and Milt firmly ensconced in their lives, loving on their children, grandchildren, their great-granddaughter. All of them knew her lovingly as Grandma E and him as Papa Milty. We'd rather have them healthy and playfully chipping at each other, doing that dance together as only a couple married for that long can do. But in just a few months, their lives took a turn, bringing with it far too many stays in hospital rooms, far too many visits from teams of doctors, far too many contemplating moments for Marcy and David to wonder what would come next. Far too many moments of seeing their parents infirm, frail, compromised. Today, We are here to breathe a collective sigh of grief because we mourn these special people. And we breathe also a collective sigh of relief, knowing that Milt and Elaine are no longer in pain. We can visit upon them today in loving memory and through storytelling as a reminder of their place in our world and in our hearts. There'll be a few speakers today sharing memory as of loving Elaine. We're going to begin with her brother Joe. He's going to share some remarks. Will you be coming up with your wife Marilyn? Come on up.
I consider myself very lucky to have a sister like Elaine. I love and admired her, not just because she was older, but for her loving spirit. Her children, grandchildren, and probably will tell you as many loving thoughts as I have. She had a special spirit. I remember going into her room, she would go into her room. When she'd come home from school, she'd do her studies as fast as she could. She had to get to the telephone and call all her friends. And with that, she had superb grades. Everyone that was friends with her, she knew all about them and they knew all about her. It was amazing how she maintained the friendship she did. She would, even in recent times, remind me, do you remember so-and-so, my girlfriend from high school, and then tell me about her. She was easily accepted into Miami University. Back in those days, that was not common. The added bonus for my parents is that my mother was not permitted to go to college, so to see her daughter go to college was something special. And there was no doubt I would follow in her steps, and I went to Miami University. Now that I live in Illinois, I have to explain that's in Ohio. My parents were so pleased when Elaine fell in love with Milt. He seemed to put Elaine on a pedestal. I recall Milt trying with all he could to get her to stop smoking. When he realized that wasn't going to work, he bought a lighter that had an ashtray so he could light her cigarette and collect the ashes. They were both very excited to be able to move into the Mayflower when they were first married, and that was followed by a move to Brentwood and then to Strawbridge. You cannot imagine the pleasure and excitement when Marcy was born, and the same level of joy and love when David was born. And that was repeated with the births of Danielle, Ariel, Rachel, Andrew, Asher, Aden, and Sophie. The addition of their son-in-law and daughter-in-law added to the happiness. She loved people. She tried to learn as much as she could of everyone she would come in contact with. She would try to draw them out with her questions. She was usually successful. And when people were rude to her or upset her, she was always disappointed in herself, thinking she did something. She always never blamed the other person. She always tried to improve the relationship. The other thing that's just amazing to me about my sister is her devotion to my mother. She had a lot of health issues, and with Milt supporting Elaine, they were able to provide a lot of support over very difficult times. And the most amazing thing of all, Elaine went to the hospital quite frequently, and she had memorized all the medications my mother was supposed to be taking. And she'd question each nurse, what are you giving her and how much? And the amazing thing is often they were wrong, and she had to correct them. Her love for me, for her parents, and her immediate family, and real friends were deep and unqualified. When we spoke, we always affirmed our love for each other. And when we disagreed, we always said to each other, "I love you." I was a lucky brother.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to call up Elaine's sister-in-law, Adrienne, and her nieces, Ricky and Beryl, share some words.
Our brother Mike wrote another poem, and Burl is going to go ahead and read it. Attempt.
Rest, Auntie Elaine, there is no more pain. Uncle Milt at the door, together forevermore. We will miss you a lot. For us, always were there. You never left, always would care. Though most times we'd wait, Uncle Milt so irate. Let's go, Auntie Elaine. You were always late.
It matters no more, those memories are core, for all that you did when we were just kids. Can't thank you enough for writing. It's now just so tough. A better place you are, so close, yet so far. Our birthdays, always a card. We will miss you a lot, it's just been so hard. Saying goodbye brings tears to our eyes. A better place you're now in, though with you not here, none of us win. Though we're all sad, Auntie Elaine, for now it's goodbye. If we need you, we will look to the sky. Keep her now safe, my dear Uncle Milt. With you now gone, we also miss, and a little more wilt. It's now time to rest, trying to cope. We'll then try our best, Auntie Elaine. You're now at the gate. Uncle Milt, forever we'll wait. For now, say goodbye, and for this, please don't be late.
Elaine's good friend, Beth Rosenblum.
Hold this. Thank you. My wonderful friend Elaine. Elaine was such a caring person. She loved her family so much. We were always kept up to date on all the family. Grocery shopping, visit Milt's, which would take her Aunt Esther shopping. She would take her father-in-law, stepfather-in-law shopping and visit him. She was so wonderful to her mother for all the years. And she would always care for Milt. She wouldn't let him eat too much meat, including spare ribs, or too much ice cream. She didn't cook often, but made great tuna salad and her famous Jell-O mold. We went out to dinner often, but she had her favorite places and places she wouldn't go. Even though she was so thin, she loved desserts. She would always share our favorite Patterson's wonderful peach pie. And she loved to go to Mitchell's for ice cream. Whenever she ordered a salad, she had to have extra tomatoes. Even though Elaine was in pain much of the time, she never really complained. She would always ask my advice, and I'd tell her to go to Peter B. Lewis for physical therapy, and she finally did. She was always so friendly and smiling all the time. She said she wouldn't go on a cruise until recently, when she went with the whole family, not only on a real cruise, but also they rented a houseboat. And Milt wanted her to go with him on a river cruise. She said she was afraid of drowning. I said, Elaine, if the boat sinks, you could walk to shore. The water's that shallow. Elaine was such a fashionable dresser. She had lovely clothes and jewelry. But beware of Nordstrom stock if you have it faltering, because Elaine is no longer their best customer. When Elaine first met Milt, she asked me what I thought of him. I said, he's a keeper. Thank goodness she kept him. We have so many fond memories of traveling together to places like Niagara Falls, Las Vegas, Florida, Amish country for pancake breakfasts, ball games in Cleveland and other cities. And we always got ready, went down in the lobby of the hotel. We knew we had a half hour to wait for Elaine. Elaine, Stan, and I will always remember our great friendship. We love you and will always sorely miss you. Yeah.
Mom, we are both so terribly sad and yet happy for you. We are sad knowing you are no longer with us, making more memories of your kindness, love, and affection, but happy you are no longer in pain, as the last few months were hell, and you fought like a warrior with determination and fortitude, and you're in a much better place without suffering. We know this will be the first time Dad will be okay waiting to see you again for eternity.
Mom, when I think of you, I think of three things. I think of warmth, caring, and resourceful. First off, you're a role model of being a warm person. It has been echoed by all your friends and family. Actually, as a kid, I felt you were actually too warm. I remember being out doing errands with you, and you would always bump into your friends and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And as a little kid, I needed attention. There were no tablets or smartphones to keep me preoccupied. No tools like that. So the second is you're such a caring mom. You helped both Marcy and me do our homework, took care of us when we were sick, sung "You Are My Sunshine" routinely. I remember on the rocking chair, rubbing my back, putting me to sleep. Additionally, you ensured Marcy and I always had healthy food. Cereals like Trix, Apple Jacks, Lucky Charms, Count Chocula, Blueberry. I don't even know if they make them anymore. At least 10 flavors of ice cream, soda, angel food cake, and a wide assortment of candies. My dad had a client that sold wholesale candy, so we had we were like a drugstore with every candy in there. We had the Three Musketeers, the Sweet Tarts, chocolate bars, and more. In retrospect, I probably would have been a mild-mannered kid. I don't know if you know, but I was like a very bad kid. I would bite doctors and be called in the principal's office quite often. I mellowed out. But, it's now known as ADHD, but had I had a more balanced diet, maybe I would have been pretty normal. But you really did care And you always gave me the benefit of the doubt, because quite often Dad would ground me for a week, no TV. And you were more lenient. You gave in and said, just one day, you'll be okay. Finally, you were resourceful. You know how to get the most value and save money. I always liked your idea of going to a restaurant. In your purse, you always had your Lipton tea bags, right? And all you needed to do was order hot water, right? And you got tea for free all the time. I mean, you brought your own, like 10 cents. I figured you saved about $800 a year on that. This beverage trick reminds me of what my dad used to do, and I think Brent does it as well. It's you order a Coke when people are drinking more soda. I just want one glass of Coke and a glass of ice. And then you have like 2 or 3 Cokes for the price of one. Both you and Mom and Dad were clearly a great match, as each other knew how to affordably quench your thirst.
When I reflect back, I remember so many fond family times traveling to all kinds of warm, exotic places during winter vacation, summer trips to Toronto, and driving by car across the United States. The 4 of us went to amusement parks, Sunday family car outings, baseball games, and other attractions. Also, I remember almost every weekend going to the Garson's house for swim parties and barbecues. Who would have thought I would have married the son of my mom's best friend, Lois Garson? Like David, I also remember our family's sweet tooth, namely stocking Huff Bakery desserts and 3-gallon tubs of Baskin-Robbins ice cream at our house. I think I was more popular due to our snack inventory. Mom was so approachable and open that she even talked to my girlfriends about boys and dating and other things I can't divulge. People have said that we look and act alike, and now I appreciate that comparison as I admire so many of her qualities: honesty, selflessness, caring, and genuine compassion for others. Like you, Mom, I love being with people and thoroughly enjoy being with my friends and family. We like nice things and like to leave the house looking somewhat put together, and share the same favorite ABC drama shows that we often talked about afterwards. I do recall that you told me that I was an angel to raise. You were always my cheerleader and my rock. You always took my side and supported and encouraged me to be a good and honest person and to follow my intuition. I always felt loved and protected. Mom, I will miss your long, lengthy calls and even longer voicemail messages that were cut off only to be continued with part 2 of the prior message. Your love of people and stories were endless. If I needed to fill time, I'd call you and make the time pass by. You were always there when I needed you for advice, and you had my back, especially after going on a shopping spree to Donnelly when I was young, and helped me hide the evidence from Dad. You made me feel so secure and special. Lastly, the Grandma E role you played was such a special and unique one that I hope to have that with my grandkids one day. Your involvement, closeness, and genuine love is hard to find. I'm so blessed you had so many good years and special and unique qualities with each of my kids. I also want to mention the relationship you had with Brent, who thought of you as a second mom, especially after he lost his own mom 15 years ago. Brent became the local son to you and was instrumental in your health care and your advocate. Brent, I want to thank you for everything you have done by your research, questions, and meetings with the doctors, and your genuine concern to keep my mom alive. You are my rock. I love you.
I want to echo that. Brent was so good with all the numbers. He tracked them every day.
And he'd write us a text about what they were.
And in fact, when we consulted with the doctors, one of them looked like, "Are you part of the medical team?" He's a very quick learner. So if you ever need a job, Dan could good
hire
referral. Yeah. So I also wanted to share with you how spiritual my mom was and how she prayed every night. As a little boy, she taught me and my sister a simple prayer. Thank you for the world so sweet. Thank you for the things we eat. Thank you for the birds that sing. Thank you, God, for everything. And then she would name everyone, close family, immediate family, friends, and just bless everyone. But they came to visit me in July of 2009, and we were at the hotel at the Renaissance Marriott near LAX airport. And we were watching TV, and I saw my mom with her eyes closed and kind of like talking to herself. And I go, "Mom, what are you saying?" And she said, I'm saying a prayer. And I said, well, what is it? I thought it was the one we sang. So she shared with me and modified it, and I had my cell phone with me, and I actually wrote down the whole prayer. And this is some of the excerpts from it. Today is a new day, a new beginning, a new challenge, so be it. Each day is a gift. We should treasure each day. Let's have a happy, healthy, wonderful, successful, fulfilling day. Amen. And then she had words of wisdom that she wanted to live by. If you say it, do it. If you don't think you could do it, don't say it. Say, I'll try my best, and I'll give my best shot. It didn't really work for her lateness, but she got better a little later. My duties are to greet each day with a smile and thank God above. They are my duties of love to speak not bad of anyone and help those who may fall. Don't be malicious or gossipy. I serve the world with honesty and give each try my best. And it is in this way I profit from my life and is full and fruitful. I live a free and happy way as I perform each duty. And then like the prayer, the abbreviated one, she would list everyone, the immediate family, all the grandkids, friends and families. I go, how many people? She goes, like 100. So probably most of you are in her prayers.
That's probably why she never went to bed on time. She was praying.
And she also called out people that were sick or with recent losses to give comfort for the families.
Mom, you are truly a remarkable person and will always be remembered and eternally missed. I hope you have found Dad, and may you both rest in peace.
We're going to invite 4 of her 6 grandchildren to come on up. Danielle and Ariel, Andrew, and Rachel. They'll be representing also their cousins Asher and Aiden.
All right, Grams, where to even begin? There are so many stories or things I could say that it all honestly blends together and my mind goes a little blank. It feels like you're just gonna walk through these doors right now, a little frantic because you're a little late, with your coat half off, with some makeup on the collar, holding a bunch of paper, some samples in your hand, maybe a cotton ball coming out of the ear, trying to sneak in and pretend that you're not late. And later you'll apologize and tell us all the reasons why, and we'll just kind of roll our eyes and say, yeah, and probably scold you repeatedly. And you'd sit there and take the heat and just say that you try to change, and try to change the subject and start asking us questions or telling us a story, and within a few seconds we'd forget to be mad. I mean, who could say mad at you with that infectious smile and laugh? I can picture it now at Stone Oven, at the nail salon, Nordstrom, or in the back hall of our house. You'd come in all famished, but always so excited to see us. We'd run up to you and say, "Hi, Grams," and give you a hug and kiss, and we'd unload your way too heavy purse and whatever gifts you bought that day, whether it was your Clinique samples or your Orbit little gum packets from the dentist, Rachel's kiwis that she loves, your famous Jell-O mold, or some article that you saw in the Jewish news that made you think of us. She may not have remembered where she put her keys or where she parked the car, but she always remembered these thoughtful and meaningful things. She'd send us postcards and got us gifts from wherever she traveled, wrote several-page novels for every card-giving event. She'd counted down the weeks till we came in and would actually clear her whole calendar for our entire trip so she wouldn't miss any opportunity to see us. She called and left 3-minute-long messages. The voicemail box would literally cut her off, and then she'd have to call back and leave a second message to finish. She would always even laugh at herself on the voicemail and be like, "Ha, I bet you're laughing right now because I had to give you a second message." But that made our day as well.
She was the quirkiest, most fun-loving, and sweetest woman you'll ever meet, and we are so lucky to have had her for the last, 22, 28, 25 years with her. 20, whatever.
How old are you? I don't know.
She enjoyed every day and always had a smile on her face. And even in her last few days when she was in so much pain, she'd open her eyes and smile whenever we came in the room. And she kept saying how she wanted to keep getting treated and keep fighting, even when the doctor said that there was nothing more they could do. I'm so glad we were there with you, holding your hand in your final moments. And I know you were scared, but at your happiest when you were with us. One recent memory that comes to mind this past April was when we were on our Caribbean cruise. Pop Milty was upset with you because he laid out a shirt on the bed that he was planning on wearing the next day, and my grandma didn't know, and so she packed it, and the luggage went, down because it was the last night of the ship. And he was yelling at you, and loud enough so that we could hear it in the room next door where we were staying. And you just let him yell, and you never would argue back. You were calm and patient, and even in the most frustrating of times. And we came into your rescue, even though Ariel and I were a little afraid, Papa Milty. And you were so upset and frazzled. So we decided to take you up to the top deck where it was really loud and windy, and we told you just to scream and to just let it all out. And it took you a minute because you're not a screamer. But you finally did, and we did it with you. And you just said how much better after that you felt. I wish I could go back. Where is it?
Right here.
Oh, I wish I could go back to that top deck and yell because you're not here, and yell because all of the pain and suffering you endured, and yell because it just doesn't seem fair.
Grams, last year when I had a lot going on in my life, I was working, I was in school, and I was pregnant with little Miss Sophie. She used to always say to me, "I don't know how you're so strong." She always said it over and over again. Well, Grams, I can now say the same to you. You fought so incredibly hard the last 2 months and endured so much. You were such a trooper and handled every poke and prod without one complaint, even though we knew you were so afraid. You even tried to set up a nurse and a doctor after learning she wasn't married, just a few days after your surgery. You showed strength and will on a level I can't even begin to fathom. You were inspirational to all of us, and we cannot be more proud of you. Grams, I will miss your 3-minute-long messages, our lunch and manicure dates, your Jell-O molds, your brightly colored cardigans, your little body and your giant, puffy, oversized coat, you wrapping everything in 8 plastic bags, your fear of any fruit if it was made in Mexico. She checked all the labels. And your infamous singing, "You Are My Sunshine" to us as you rubbed our backs to sleep whenever we slept over. But most of all, Grams, besides being just an amazing grandma, you were also our friend. And not only just a good friend, but our best friend. And we were lucky enough that, selfishly, that we were, aside from Asher and Aiden, who are young now, but we were the only 4 grandkids in your life, so we had all your attention and you had all of ours, and because of that, we were so incredibly close, and that is something that we will never ever forget or take for granted. You were loved by so many people, and you will be greatly missed. As one of her other goodnight songs that was infamous to all of us, which cannot be more true right now, reads, "I love you, a bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck. I love you, a barrel and a heap, and I can't stop thinking of you in my sleep."
I was lucky enough to be in the hospital room when you 4 were visiting your Grams, and the way you greeted her and loved her showed her such beautiful affection. She was very lucky. So we return to that moment, that biblical moment when Abraham's sitting out there in the sun. We also know that he was recovering from his own ailments. The rabbis say that God sent messengers to comfort him. And yes, there were many messengers, friends, and family who came to visit Elaine when she was trying to make a comeback. In the midst of attempts to keep her medically afloat, Elaine was wheeled out into the air of a beautiful and sunny Cleveland day. Keeping her eyes tensely closed, It was Brent who had to say, "Elaine, open your eyes." When she did, her face relaxed, and she was, for a moment, back in her normal, happy place. The pre-hospitalized Elaine was back for a few moments. That old Elaine, before being admitted into Lerner Tower at university hospitals, is who we remember today. It's who I remember today, only in July, as I shared at Milt's funeral. Only in July, July 9th, I had the benefit of spending a little time in my car, taking Milt and Elaine on a trip for a temple fundraiser for ice cream. And I just remember them in the back, so buoyant, so happy, peppering me with questions and me peppering them with questions, and Milt talking about the old cars and the hair blowing in everybody's faces and the wind blowing in everybody's faces, and just enjoying ice cream together. It was a special moment. It's hard to believe we're so far from that moment today, but that moment will always stay with me, that special moment. She was like Abraham and Sarah, attending to every detail to be a good friend, sister, wife, mom, grandma. It is this Elaine, who felt and loved deeply, who composed and recited personal prayers to the mysterious God around her. It is this Elaine who would take pains to write notes to herself so she could learn and grow every day. Today we remember the Elaine who was the wind beneath Milt's wings. She was the connector, the talker, and yes, she really loved to extend phone calls for as long as humanly possible. The listener, the social butterfly, perfectly put together with a fresh manicure, and enjoyed them most when she was accompanied by her granddaughters, going out to the stone oven for lunch afterwards. Her styled hair, she strove to look presentable and nice, wouldn't pull punches if she thought you were dressed appropriately, saying, "You can't wear that." But she also relished spending time with the girls after they did a big clothing shop so they could put on a fashion show for her. She obsessed to ensure that everything was in its right place, made sure to keep a clean home. Elaine was the copious recorder of memories old and new, and remembered what loved ones liked, yes, like kiwi or restaurant mints. She saved nearly everything that her grandkids created for her, even those menus that kids would draw on at the restaurant. Her memory was sharp when it came to things they loved. She kept notes, and as Marcy said, even her notes had notes. Her greeting cards were well crafted and lengthy odes to a loved one or to a friend. She would write detailed words along the margins of those cards on the front and on the back, each section necessitating numbers so the reader could follow the sequence of thought. Indeed, Elaine was a believer in the handwritten thank you note, that ancient mode of communication we used before the advent of the smartphone, a modern invention for which she could never master. The Elaine we remember today is the person who didn't have a mean bone in her body, who never had anything bad to say about others, who even had trouble presenting her middle finger to her husband when he was chiding her. As a rejoinder, she would simply punch out both hands for emphasis. The Elaine we remember today is the person who didn't have our Elaine was also the epitome for untimeliness, as you've heard time and again. She didn't mean to be, she just had no normal concept of a time frame. Would always underestimate how long it would take to do this, to do that, by the time she needed to be somewhere else. As a result, she would leave family and friends waiting at a restaurant or leave Milt incredulous when she would delay their departure from home. It got so bad that the family would conspire to tell Elaine to be somewhere at a certain time, which was really a half hour to an hour earlier than the agreed upon time with everyone else. Even so, Milt's sister Adrian felt so close to Elaine, and even in respect to her untimeliness, Adrian said, Elaine was always worth the wait. You'd go shopping together. Adrian, you remember just how finicky she was, perhaps buying one item and probably returning it after all. As a social and talkative and engaged as she was, Elaine had a private side. She was from the school of thought that what happens in the family stays in the family. Medical illness and family challenges should stay locked in the vault. That hampered her, though. It hampered her when it came to taking care of herself and addressing her various ailments in past years. And these last 8 weeks, she fought so hard outwardly to overcome. She fought so hard inwardly to not expose her fears, her pain. It was known that Milt couldn't stand any needles or tests. Alternatively, Elaine soldiered on, grinding through every doctor's test, every visit, with unsurpassed grace and grit. We could never know if Elaine truly internalized the news that her beloved Milt had passed 4 weeks ago. We will never know if she processed that painful reality. We will never know if her fears exceeded her hopes. We will never know a lot about what was going on with Elaine during those days. But here's what we do know. We know she was loved with an unending love. I saw it every time I showed up at the hospital. I saw it in Marcy's face, in Brent's face, in their children's faces. The pain, the wanting for their mother, their grandma to be comfortable, to have a chance, a fighting chance, at the same time not wanting her to suffer anymore. This was an unending love, shown bravely and unconditionally by Marcy and Brent and David and Aaliyah. Elaine was prized by her brother. She was admired and respected by her grandchildren. And she adored her great-granddaughter, Sophie. That is what we surely know. We know that Elaine's memory will be held in the greatest of esteem by all of you who knew and loved her. And we know she is with Milt, together doing their married thing, loving on each other and driving each other a little crazy. And we know that they are glad and feel blessed for the legacy that they leave here on this earth. Zichrona livracha. May Elaine's memory forever be a blessing. Let us say, Amen. Just pause for a couple of moments as we consider Elaine's life in the entirety, the blessings that she gave to each one of us.
Oh God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures, as you, O God, endured forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and glory. Please rise. El malhe rachamim shochei b'amromim ametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina im kedoshim utehorim ki zorakia Mazirim et nishmat rocholea As tira besetek nam leolamim vitra bizrachayim et nishmata Adonai hu nachalata v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Elaine Weinstein, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
As we turn to the conclusion of this funeral service, we acknowledge that Elaine is survived by her daughter Marcy and Brent, her son David and Aaliyah, her brother Joseph and Marilyn, grandchildren Danielle, Ariel, Andrew, Rachel and Kobe, Asher and Aiden, and Sophie. Family will be moving from this service immediately to Mount Olive Cemetery for the interment. And after the interment, the family will be receiving friends today until 4 p.m. and then tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. The family will again be sitting tomorrow night, Monday, tomorrow 2 to 4 and then 7 to 9. There will be a Shiva Minyan at 7:30 tomorrow night. They'll be sitting at Marcy and Brent's home, 200 Honeybell Oval in Orange Village. Thank you.